Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I got our next project here on the trailer. We're going to dig into my 1967 Harbor Blue F250 here. I've had it for about a year. I drug it out of storage. It's time to start working on it, so let's go get after it. All right, like I said, I had this thing in storage. I got this truck about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago now, from Indiana. I did a video on this thing. It was in a garage since 2000, December of 2000. So this December marks 25 years this thing's been off the road. I got all the receipts from new on this truck. Got it from kind of the original owner. He passed away and I bought it from the guy that bought the estate, and he just got everything because the guy didn't have any, what do you call it, next of kin or any heirs for his estate. So they had to auction his estate off, and everything went with it, and this was in the garage. So I got a video on that. I'll link that in the description below if you want to see me dragging this thing home. It fought us on the trailer. And because of that, we have some work to do, because this wheel right here was locked up, and to get it off the trailer and into storage into my shed, I had to get a torch and kind of cut all the brake components apart so I could get the wheel unlocked, basically. So we're going to need some brake work. I kind of toyed around with doing a build on this truck, but it's kind of, there's just enough wrong with it that I don't want to mess with it, because if I start making it too nice, I'm going to want to keep going and keep going. And there's just a little bit too much wrong with it for me to do that. And I fear that this thing is really going to snowball if I get too carried away with it. So basically, I'm just going to do a mechanical, I don't even say restoration. I'm just going to do mechanic work on it and get it going on the road. I'm not going to be doing any restoration work. I'm not going to be doing any kind of rebuilding, painting, that kind of stuff. We're basically just going to get this thing back on the road and get it running and driving. So it looks really nice from the outside. The old timer that had this, he did a good job of keeping the paint nice. It's been repainted before. The fenders have been replaced twice. If you watch that video, I even tallied up all the receipts on how much this guy spent from new. Keeping this truck on the road for the years he had it up until 2000. Basically, this guy spent a lot of time and money trying to keep this thing from rusting, because it did come from Indiana. So that is the main problem with it, is it just got some spots of rust here and there. It's really nice for being an Indiana truck, being kind of in rust country. It is north of Indianapolis. The cab mounts got spots in them, but they're still holding it up. The floors are really nice. He actually had, they took the floor apart and repainted the floors so they wouldn't rust. So that was really nice. We have a 352 under the hood. It is pretty rusty and crusty, but it does spin over. So we have some hope of getting this thing running. And I do know that the reason this thing was parked is the transmission. I have a bill for a tow, and on the tow he has notes and it says transmission went out. So it has a automatic and FMX transmission, is what these 67 trucks had. So it's not as easy to find as a C6, but I think I found a few on Marketplace. We'll see if they're any good or not. But basically, before I do spending any money on any transmissions, I want to see if I can get this engine running. So that's going to be the first part we dive into, is trying to get the engine fired up and running. Basically, since it was parked because of the transmission, I'm hoping that everything with the engine is good. I wish it presented better, but I am going to, I'm going to clean everything off here. And he replaced the inner fenders. As you can see, the rust oxide primer on these. That would have been what the parts counter inner fenders would be like if you went to the Ford dealership and just bought some. So he did replace the inner fenders, and I have the receipt from the Ford dealer when he did that, which is pretty neat. I think that was 1979 when he did that, and they were still pretty pricey. So yeah. It's got a really nice interior. The interior is very nice and well kept. There's a few things that are kind of going away with the years. Like we got some stuff here happening where you put your arm on the armrest, but overall the interior is really nice shape. I think we got a few cracks in the dash pad. Yeah. But the main thing is there's lots of neat little trinkets and just kind of old stuff that comes with this thing. The glove box is packed full of some old school, there's maps, and there's old matchbooks there, and I think there's some like old band-aids and stuff in the glove box. There's some really neat old school stuff, and the camper is chock full of camping supply, vintage camping supplies, and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to leave all this stuff alone, just how I found it. I'm obviously going to clean up the trash and stuff and get the dirt and stuff off of it, but I just kind of want to leave it alone, and it's just kind of neat. I kind of like this kind of stuff. So basically, after doing the motorhome, and I need to work on my ultimate crew cab and my wife, I'm building a truck for my wife, this Luna Green truck right there. Those are all going to be a fabricating build, full build kind of stuff. And I just kind of want to do something where I just replace some parts. Just easy, just mechanic work, you know, just replace parts that they should fit. You don't have to fabricate nothing. You don't have to make something custom. You don't have to worry about this part fitting with this part and it messing up this other part. So I just want to go back to stock, get it running, and see what we can do on it. I'm even going to leave the 8 1/4, 16.5. No, it's not even 8 1/4. It's 8 16.5 tires. The old Goodyear custom extra grip wide tread tires on the back, and he's got some highway tires up front. They're kind of old and weather checked, but they'll work for this truck. They've been holding air since I brought the thing home a year ago, so they'll make it drive down the road. I guess the first step is going to be clean all the dust off of it so we don't get so dirty while we're working on it, and see if we can clean off the engine bays. So I'm going to get after that. All right, here we go. We got it pulled in the shop, ready to start working on it. I got all the dust cleaned off of it and just did a little light scrubbing on it to kind of get the years and years of filth off the paint. Overall, the paint is a little bit faded, which is to be expected, but I could tell on the passenger side fender, it definitely has some more shine on it, which going off it's a little dark here, you probably can't tell inside the shop, but going off the invoices, this fender here was what was painted last. There was a insurance claim where someone backed into this fender, and they replaced this fender on that insurance claim. I think it was in the mid-90s sometime. So it's been painted, but the whole truck has been painted before, so this isn't original. I think it will shine up pretty nice. just a little bit dull at the moment. I don't know what this yellow stuff is on the bumper. I couldn't touch it with the stuff I was working with. I don't know if there's something else I should try. If any of you detailer guys that are watching this know what I should try on this bumper, I don't know. I'd love to have it nice and bright white again. I'm guessing this is some kind of rust preventative or something he put on there that yellowed it. I'm not really sure. You can kind of see where it looks like it was brushed on. Or maybe it's just bad paint over the years. It's gone yellow on it. Not really sure. There was a little bit on the door. That's why I think it was kind of rust preventative. He spilled some on the door here. This was coming off. So I think you do a little bit more buffing or cleaning up on the paint. I think it would come around. And generally you can kind of see now that everything's cleaned off that it does have some flaws. It looks really good in pictures. Anytime I post pictures of this truck, everybody's like, oh my gosh, that thing's perfect. But really, it's just got a lot of stuff wrong with it here and there that just make it good to leave the way it is, which is exactly what I'm doing with it. Like you can see here where the filler neck probably ate up some of the paint, and he brushed on some paint that doesn't quite match. You can see the discoloration there. That's added paint, so that paint probably wasn't the right color. You can see it up in here. Just doesn't match quite perfect. Down here, and there's a little bit of spot in the corner of the door showing up. You know, little stuff like that. I know last time I had this truck on the channel, I talked about how rusty it was, and that really offended some people. But in reality, when you come down to the stuff I do with trucks, restorations and stuff, this truck is terribly rusty. Now, leaving it as is, it's perfectly fine. It's not going to hurt a thing. So that's why I'm leaving it alone. Just because if I go another step further, it's going to be a lot of work if you want to take it to the next step. So basically, we're just making this thing a runner. There's a spot there on the corner of the bed, and you can see some of that paint added here on the seam. It was probably the seam sealer was cracking. He wanted to keep that from rusting. So like I said earlier, the old timer did a lot of work to keep this thing from rusting away, and everything he did is the reason it looks so nice in the pictures. There's a lot of like black tar undercoating under this thing. I can probably show you right here. If you can see in the dark, lots of black tar type stuff in here, and all the seams in that cab there are starting to rust jack. So I think if he didn't do that, this thing would be rusted away into a million pieces by now. Another thing I noticed when I was cleaning this is our bed brace down here is rusted off. So just a lot of like little things that you would have to take care of if you want to take it to the next step. And I'm not really interested in doing that because I have that truck to finish. I have a truck for my wife to finish, and I have a couple other crew cab projects that are underway or shortly underway that I probably need to be working on more than this thing. But I'm just happy to be mechanicking on this thing instead of doing rust repair or fabricating all that kind of stuff. So under the hood here is what we're going to tackle today. It's very, very rusty and crusty. There's not much paint left on the motor. You can see the valve covers. I'm not sure why that is, if it's just doing a lot of cleaning and over the years he blew off all the paint, or if something ate away the paint on everything. But the inner fenders cleaned up fairly decently. Of course, you could do a lot more cleaning. This is just a easy pressure wash job under here. I'm not sure what all we're going to have to replace as far as like power steering and stuff and brake booster. Since this is a 67, all that stuff is kind of oddball. The power steering pump has a cast iron bracket, or the later trucks are just a stamped steel piece. So that is different. I don't know if the pumps are different. And then the brake booster there is quite unique with the line, and it goes to a hard line going over to the intake manifold. That is unique to this 67. It's not the same as the later trucks, so that might be a hard piece to find if I have to get a brake booster. I would love to keep it original just because how unique the 67s are, but you know, if you can't get the part, you can't get the part. I'll have to put a later model vacuum booster on that, and then you got to change the pedal assembly because the 67s are unique. It gets 67s are kind of cool, but they get fun to work on sometimes. So we're going to struggle through all that together. The main thing is getting this engine to run. I haven't done anything to it other than make sure it turns over. Let's make sure it still turns over. It's been about a year since I've done this. Yep. Can we get a full revolution out of it? Looks like we're going to be able to. Yeah, it turns over nicely. I guess the first step's going to be is I want to pull the spark plugs and put a little bit of oil in there before we go cranking on the thing, as long as this thing's been sitting, just to keep the pistons from eating themselves up if they're dry. So we're going to get on that and see what we get done. All right, let's get started in on this thing. One thing I noticed as I've been messing with this thing from my year of ownership is it still has the rubber seal on the oil bath air cleaner. Usually these rubber seals are long gone. You can see that there, it's stuck to the air cleaner. I'm not sure why usually they're long gone, but most of the trucks I work on, I've only ever had one that still had it. Make this two now with this truck. I do know that the carburetor is free. I'm probably going to try to see if this one will work, just to save on a few bucks on this project. But there's lots of white fuzzy crust on it. Might try to take it off and clean it up. We'll see if we can still use it. But I think first off, we gotta get these spark plugs out of here, and then get that 25-year-old battery out of here and see if this thing will crank up. I think we're going to need some spark plug wires. This one's got a repair on it. Oh, they're stuck. Man, they haven't been off there in a while. There we go. Yeah, it's all rusty in there. It's no good. Come on. Same deal. The garage where this thing was awful damp. Like the concrete floor looked like it was damp from temperature changes and lots of moisture where this thing was stored. So I think that's why everything's so crusty here. Oh, that's nice. That clamp right there just broke. Add that to the list. The exhaust manifolds have a different color to them, and they look bright gray. He might have had the manifolds changed, or at least the gaskets changed and painted the manifolds. We have an Autolite spark plug. Doesn't look bad. It's a little carboned up, but it's not all rusty. Like it had water in it. I think if we had water getting this engine, it would be locked up as long as it's set. I guess I say that the old timer might have came out and fired it up every now and then. But going off the age of that battery, I think it's been a while since he did that, if he was doing that. This one's cleaner. Looks pretty good. No rust. Liking what I'm seeing so far. There's rust on the outside of the plug, but as far as the actual part that's inside the chamber, that one looked clean as well. There's a little speck of rust started on that, but overall I think we're in pretty good shape. All right, I'm gonna pull the rest of these plugs, and I'm guessing it's gonna be the more of what we've just seen. If I find anything different, I'll let you guys know. All right, I got the rest of the spark plugs out. Nothing to see there. I did take a peek down in the cylinders with my bore scope. They do look dirty, but they don't look rusty. It's kind of more carbon. So they're pretty dirty, so I think this engine has quite a bit of miles on it, but you know, I think we can deal with that as long as they're not all rusted up. And this thing spins awful nice and easy. Now that I got oil in there, it spins very nicely, so I think we're going to be good to go on rotating We'll see if we got compression. One thing before I swap out the battery, I wanted to show you this 11698. Can you guys see that? And it has his, where he bought the battery and has his name on the battery. So this thing is almost 30 years old, not quite, but man, this battery has been in here a long time, so I don't think this thing was started regularly for very long after 2000, after this thing was parked, because that battery wouldn't have been able to last it unless he jumped it. But anyway, I did take a peek at the fuel tank because I wanted to unhook that. I didn't want to suck any bad gas into the carburetor if that fuel pump does work. And unfortunately, the fuel tank looks like it spent some time at the Titanic. So it's no good. The pickup's going to be plugged up in it, and there's just crusty rust. I got a picture here, I'll show you. But luckily, I do have a Harbor Blue tank from a 69 that I think will, I think still good. I need to go take a look at it. It's been sitting outside, kind of in a cab, but outside. It was actually the cab, the original cab from the Harbor Blue Highboy truck I did. We ended up not using that fuel tank. I think it's still good. I gotta go take a peek at it. But if that's good, we'll throw that in there. If not, I'll have to get a fuel tank or find something to put in here, because that one's definitely not gonna work. Let's get this battery in here and just try our luck and see if she'll crank over. All right, let's get this battery out of the way. The battery tray isn't all rusty. Looks like he's been putting grease on it, trying to keep it from rusting out. So that's another very common rust spot on these things. Oh, our battery is not the correct 24. So our terminals are going to be on the wrong side. But I think we have enough room here. Yeah, we'll have enough room. So here we go. We're going to hook up power for the first time. I think everything's off. Yep, no sparks, so we're good there. Tighten our clamps down. I didn't clean these. I probably should have cleaned them. I think they were greased as well, so maybe they don't have a lot of corrosion on them and they'll contact good enough. All right, here goes nothing. Since this is an automatic, it does have a neutral safety switch. So hopefully that is working. I think I have it in neutral there. We don't really line up. First, I'm just going to turn the power on and see what happens. Heard the voltage regulator click. All right, here we go. Hey, I guess that answers that question. The starter works and the starter relay works. See if I can get oil pressure on the gauge. None yet. There, it's moving. I'm going to bring you guys in here so you can see what I'm looking at. It was kind of sticking. I think it might have been stuck a little bit. So there's the oil pressure gauge. Let off the key and it goes up a little bit. Sounds like our battery is giving up. The battery's got some age on it, so it may not be any good anymore. We got some oil pressure. It's cranking smooth, although we don't have any spark plugs in it, so we don't really know what the compression is like. But I'm happy that it cranks and we don't have to be changing the starter out. So I guess next step is going to be we got to deal with ignition, get some spark plugs back in it, see how it sounds when it cranks, and then fuel. So I'm going to get after that. All right, well, I put a new set of points in this thing. Well, a used set of points. They're out of a truck that had a Pectronics Electronic ignition in it. Here's the old points. They are pretty corroded, and I figured these ones here looked a lot better. I figured we have a better shot at that. So I got those installed and set up. I cleaned up the rotor. It looks usable. I found a decent cap, so I'm going to use this. And I found a decent set of plug wires, and that cap's wasted, so we're going to swap those plug wires over to this one. And I also have a set of used plugs out of a good runner. So I'm going to throw these in and see how we work out before you start throwing any money at the thing. So I'm going to work on getting these parts installed, going to throw the plugs in and see how it sounds while we're cranking, then check spark and throw some fuel on it and see if it'll pop off. Alright, got our spark plug wires all sorted out. I didn't test our coil, but I did test our points, and we got spark there. And right now I'm putting some fuel in the fuel bowls. Just in case it does pop off, we have a chance of getting this thing make it idle a little bit. I usually have a little funnel to do this, but I couldn't find it, so I'm using my syringe to put some fuel in the bowls. I am guessing our fuel pump is no good. I'll give it a try before I put a new one in it, but going off past experience, if it does run, it won't run for very long. It'll leave you on the side of the road. Not saying a new one is any better, but probably a little bit better than what we got. See if we got any squirter. Negative. Nut shop. It'll probably start leaking here pretty quick. That diaphragm for the pump shot. What are the chances this carburetor is even going to run? Well, there's some fuel in there. Won't run for a terribly long time, but we also don't have any water in it, so let me give it another one just for kicks and giggles. And then we're going to give it a little bit of a primer since we don't have a pump shot. All right, there's some fuel in there. Let's see what happens. It's popping off. That's a good start. Give it a little bit too much, maybe. Give it some throttle. We're also cranking really slow. I think that battery's giving up on us. I'm gonna hook up a charger to it. All right, let's give it another go. We're still cranking awful slow. I should note that our choke cable's seized up. That's why the choke's not set. I might fiddle with that and see if I can get that to work, and maybe give it a little bit more fuel. All right, got the choke to set. Let's give it another shot. Might have to end up changing the battery out. There's something. Ah. I think we're just cranking pretty slow for this engine's gonna need some speed. I think we're not getting enough fuel to it either, which makes sense. We don't have a pump shot. Hey, now it's working, and it's immediately started leaking. So, we finally got some fuel down there to the accelerator pump, and it started leaking, just like I said. So, I think I have a diaphragm somewhere. I have to dig it out. But right now, I just want to see if the thing will run. So, since I got it some pump shot, maybe we can have enough to keep it running. Yep, it's working now. Give it another shot. Ooh, I heard, I don't know if you guys could hear that, a gear whining sound. That kind of sounds like transmission problems, which we knew that going into this because we had that tow bill. Maybe I had it kind of in gear. I went ahead and put it in park to see what that does. But it is running. Let me give it some more pump shot. All right, I think we're not going to get this thing running with this battery. The battery charger keeps shutting off on me. It's pulling too many amps, and I could turn it on boil, but I always hate to do that with stuff like this where the battery's going out. You know, just relying on the battery charger too much. I'm going to put a good battery in this thing out of a truck that's running, and see if we can get this thing to fire off. That sound in the transmission is kind of worrying. I was hoping that maybe the bands on this thing were out of adjustment or something simple, but if it sounds something like that, maybe the pump went bad in the transmission and that's why it's making that noise. I don't know. First step's going to be to fire it up and see what this thing, if it has reverse, first, second, anything like that, and see what we got and go from there. So I'm going to throw a battery in this thing and see if we can get it cranking over a little faster. All right, new battery, and I put some more fuel in it because with that leaking accelerator pump, we're probably draining our bowls pretty quick. So I put some more fuel in it. Got the choke set. Give it some pumps. Well, our fuel pump works, but that means the float's stuck. So we had a big geyser. I have it unhooked, but there's fuel in the fuel bowl apparently. So that ain't gonna work. But it ran. That noise in the transmission went away, if that's what it was. So that went away. And it sounded pretty good. It's quiet. There's a little bit of valve train noise. But everything happened so fast I didn't get to look at everything. But that float sticking is going to slow us down here for a minute. As long as this thing's been setting, I'm not sure tapping's going to do it, but we can give it a shot. That fuel pump's going to run out of fuel eventually, but we got good oil pressure. Smoking a little bit and running a little fast. That might be our choke. Looks like our fuel pump ran out of fuel. Might bring it off the high idle cam a little bit and see if it'll idle. That the tap hasn't gone away, but I'm guessing there's a lifter that's a little stuck. Needs a little heat in it. Oh, of course, now it's not going to run without the choke. All right, I'm ready to try it again. I was trying it off camera, trying to get it to run a little better so we can get the stage fright out of this thing and get it to run for you guys. And I had a spark fly up from around here on the belt drive assembly somewhere. So yeah, that's not good whenever you have a leaking accelerator pump and puddles of fuel under your carburetor. So that made me nervous. I cleaned it all up and I found a good accelerator diaphragm and changed that out. So we aren't leaking fuel there anymore in case something is sparking up here. Hopefully we don't have any problems. I do have my fire extinguisher handy in case we do. But because of that, this thing ain't running very good. I want to see what the transmission's doing. So if I get it to fire up again, I'm going to go right to testing the transmission and seeing what goes on. And I got it set up here with a jack. I'm just going to have you guys sit back here and watch and see what happens. And see if you guys can tell anything. I'm going to be watching from up here at the cab. I'm going to try to keep this thing running long enough to test all the gears. We will see. It hasn't been running very good for me. That's reverse. Well, we got reverse, neutral, drive. Yeah, we got drive. Okay. Back to neutral. All right, well, I guess that gives us some hope that maybe the transmission is still working on this thing. So not quite sure what the problem the old timer was having whenever he parked this thing. It might be under load. It won't pull itself under load, but while the tires are jacked up, you know, like the bands are blown out of the thing and it won't hold a gear. Something like that. So I guess we'll find out when I get this thing running a little bit better and on some fuel in the tank. I got to change the tank out, get the fuel system, probably the fuel pump, although we did test and it showed it worked. So I might just run the original fuel pump until it gives up on me if it does. And I think the float has fixed itself on the carburetor. Well, no, I guess I don't know because I haven't hooked anything up to test from the fuel line, the actual fuel line. So it wouldn't overflow unless you have something coming through the fuel line. So I have all of those rabbit holes to go down and get things sorted out. But the thing is at least running decent enough that we tested the transmission. I'm happy for that. I mean, this is like middle of the afternoon, early afternoon. I started on this thing in the morning after I got done with some chores. So after 25 years, we got the thing fired up in a few hours. So that's pretty good. With just some parts I had laying around here in the shop. I haven't spent a dime on it yet other than some fuel. So I'm going to get digging into it, getting it running a little bit better, and maybe on a tank of gas, and we'll see if it drives around the yard. We don't have any brakes, so that might be a little sketchy. I know the parking brake does work, so we might have some brakes, but at least, you know, see if the thing's going to run. So I'm going to get after that. All right, I have the thing running much better now. I have it running off a jug down here on the floor. The fuel pump is working, and the needle and seat was still leaking on the carburetor, so I had to take the top off the carburetor and I got the needle freed up, and I cleaned it up with some brake clean and put it back together and put the float back together, and that seems to all be working. And I topped off the water, so we have water in the thing now. It was just a few gallons low, so that's good. It wasn't completely empty, and there was a problem somewhere. But whenever I was getting this thing a little bit tuned up, a little bit better, the rear end, the gears stopped working. I put it in drive to try it out again, and it stopped working. So went investigating on that, and we were low on transmission fluid. I put a quart in it. It still wasn't reading on the dipstick, so I put another quart in it, and now we're just slightly over full. So it was 2 quarts low, and the pan on this thing isn't very big, so the thing must not have very much fluid in it, but it must have just been sitting. It had enough fluid in the pan to pick up to make it work on this last time we tried it, but I have tried it since, and it seems to be working now. And I thought, since I have it running a little bit better, I'm going to try, I know the parking brake works, I'm going to try dragging a little bit and seeing if the thing will blow through the parking brake and see if it has any power in the transmission as a way to test to see if the thing will drive it or not. But I got the thing running pretty darn good. It fires right up every time and sits there and idles. It's not charging, so we have that to figure out. You know, it could be the voltage regulator or the alternator. It is, so it's not currently charging, but the thing is running pretty darn good for as long as it's set. We're not running. Let's go ahead and try it and drive. There, we're spinning. I'll probably have to set you guys down. So we pick up some speed, so it accelerates. Let me put the little bit of brake on. There, I can hear the brakes. So they're dragging a little bit. So they're dragging a little bit now. Let's see if we can blow through them. That's no problem. Let me put a little bit more on it. A couple more clicks. Well, I don't see what it killed the truck. I don't see why that's going to be a problem. So that seems to all be working. I think it would definitely drive like that. Let me get it out of gear. Fires right back up. The thing's running really nice. The power steering works. I tested that. We do have a hole in our muffler, so we have a little bit of an exhaust leak down here. And just the slightest of valve train noise. But as long as this thing's been sitting, I think we're doing pretty darn good. I need to get this thing up to temperature and drain the oil and put some fresh oil and filter in it. And I guess I could try it with the emergency brake, driving it, but with an automatic transmission, it really scares me because if it dies on you don't have a way to stop it. Like with a manual transmission, you can just, kill the engine and dump the clutch and the truck will stop. I mean, I don't really like, you can jam it in the park and maybe get lucky, but you don't really have a way to stop emergency if you start rolling downhill and you're going towards a cliff or something. I mean, I'm not going to be on the road, obviously, but we might back it out of the shop and then pull it back in or something. But I know this wheel, I think it's this wheel right here, doesn't have any guts in the brakes. So we have to get all new brake hardware for this one and the back. The rear seem to be working since the parking brake uses the same brake shoes as the regular brake. We might have to put some wheel cylinders in it if those aren't working, but I know we do need a master. It's completely locked up. So I'm going to start getting some parts and some brake parts and see if we can get this thing stopping so we can go take it for a drive. All right, I started getting brake parts coming. While we're waiting on that, I thought I would swap the fuel tank out so we can get it running off of the tank in a truck instead of a jug on the floor. I've got the fuel pumped out of this tank, and here it is in this jug. See how brown it is? Man, this stuff was the nastiest fuel I've ever pumped out of something. I mean, it is just like brown. It is like it's thick like soup. So if you guys have ever messed with an old vehicle that hasn't been ran in a very long time, you know exactly what the whole entire shop smells like. So I got to get this stuff out of here so we can start fuming this shop out. First step's going to be getting this tank out of here. Here's my replacement tank, and it is a Harbor Blue tank, so that is nice. It's just not as nice a shape on the outside. It's kind of beat up. It's been sitting outside in the cab, but luckily the inside is perfect compared to the one we have there that is horrible. So I'll take that every day. Even the we might even get lucky with the sending unit. It looks pretty nice. We'll test that and see if that works. If not, we'll have to throw one in there. But so far, the only money I've spent on this truck is 2 quarts of transmission fluid, which was about 16 bucks, and then whatever gas I've used so far, a gallon. So far we're doing pretty good. We're going to spend some money on the brakes. Obviously, we're going to put new stuff in that, a new master, new wheel cylinders and liners in the front. But overall, we're getting along pretty good on this thing. Hopefully the transmission doesn't throw us for any loops. It's still a mystery as to what parked this thing for all those years, but just to prove that I'm not making things up, here's the ticket that I'm going off of to say the transmission's bad. This is the last ticket. I have every single receipt this guy ever bought anything for this truck. And this is the last dated ticket I have. And it's for a record call for 30 bucks. And right here it says 12/4/2000, trans went out. And right here it says my truck transmission went out at Horton's Hardware, and it's probably someone's name, picking up, and then I can't tell what that is. And then here's a letter to his insurance to cancel the insurance on this truck, and it says, I do not believe the truck will be in service for insurance period 2001 at least. The trunk may be grounded for the whole year, and then it has to cancel the insurance. So I don't know what the deal is with the transmission. Obviously, we're going to find out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. We'll deal with it then, I guess. All right, fuel tank is out. It's actually pretty nice and clean behind the tank, so that's nice. Here's the tank out. It looks very nice on the outside. I wish it was still good because it's in pretty good shape. But I was pulling this thing out, and it felt really heavy, like there's fuel in it, but I didn't hear anything sloshing around. I was like, why is this thing so heavy? So I took the fuel sending unit off, and as you can see there, it's showing some issues. I got a light down in there so you can see, but look in this fuel tank. Hopefully you guys can tell there is like all kinds of sediment and crud in the bottom of this thing. It is no good, but we got that one we're going to put in, so it's nice and bright and gray on the inside, so it's still good. We'll get that thing running off of the tank in the truck, and then yeah, moving right along with brakes, I guess. All right, got a replacement tank installed, everything hooked up, even got the filler neck in, and I have the Ultimate Highboy in here with some fuel. Pumped some fuel in the tank, and we wouldn't be so lucky. Our fuel gauge is not working, but keeping with the theme of this build and trying to get this thing going as cheaply as possible, I might pull that sending unit out and try to get it to work rather than just replacing it. See if we can get that thing to work. A lot of times the floats have holes in them, although right now I wouldn't think it would. I think it would work for a little bit until it filled up with gas. But also the contacts in the where the thing gets the reading might be messed up. We'll see if we can fiddle with it. I have everything hooked back up. The fuel line under the tank or under the cab is going to the fuel pump. I did pump out everything that was in that line. I flushed out some fresh gas, so we're not pumping some varnish into our carburetor. I need to set the choke. I figured we'd do a cold start. This is the next morning. It hasn't been running today. Set the choke a little bit. I'm going to have to see if I can get that choke cable freed up. I have some extras, but I'd like to just keep this one working if we could. I'll have to see if I can get the cable freed up. Give it some pumps. See if we can get it started. Needs a little bit more. Not bad for a cold start. Valve train's pretty quiet this morning. I still need to drain the oil on this thing. I'll definitely do that today. Get a little heat in it and get that old oil out. Get some fresh in there. I'm really happy with how this thing's running, considering all the bad luck I had with that Southwestern bell truck, this one is treating me right. So I think I'm going to risk it. I'm going to get that oil changed, and then I'm going to risk it on the emergency brake there, and maybe just drive around the shop, maybe up and down the driveway, and just see if the transmission is going to shift or if something's going to rear its ugly head and cause problems. I was thinking last night, you know, we have that ticket that has a wrecker call on it. If the thing was still running enough that he could like move, like limp along in first gear or something, I don't think he would have called a wrecker. You know, you think he'd just limp along to the mechanic shop or to his house instead of actually calling a wrecker to come get him. You know, that makes me think like it wasn't running. And then I got to thinking like surely it wasn't just low on fluid and he called a wrecker, because he had fluid in the back of the truck in a box. He had transmission fluid in a funnel, so you know he was adding it. You know, I don't know. I guess we'll find out here pretty quick. All right, I was letting this thing warm up, and the belt started squeaking a little bit. So I got to thinking, I wonder if the thing's charging. So I thought I'd check it right here, or letting it warm up a little bit. 14.5, so I guess the alternator decided to start charging. So things are starting to come alive on this old truck. So we're gonna get this thing warmed up and get that oil changed. All right, I have the oil changed out. I topped off the oil in our oil bath air cleaner and got that back installed. I checked on our water level. We're still good to go there. So I think it's time to give it a shot. Wish me luck on that parking brake. I'm not gonna need it too crazy, so hopefully we won't have any issues. But it's crazy to think that I'm gonna be backing this thing out of the shop under its own power. That was only yesterday that I shoved it in here on the forklift and hadn't touched the thing. So I think that's pretty neat. So let's back it out of the shop here and see if we can take it for a drive. All right, here goes nothing. I'm gonna put a click of brake in it just to start out with. Well, it started out good, we're moving. Make sure we can stop it. Kind of. This might get a little tricky if I get going too fast, but I'll try not to get going too fast unless I'm going uphill. Maybe. All right, let's give this a try. I have to remember that I don't have brakes. That's nice. The spring return on the brake is catching, so that helps with releasing it. Try our brakes. We do slow down. We don't slow down in a hurry, but we're facing downhill, so. Maybe on the way back I'll try to accelerate a little bit going up that hill. So far, the transmission seems to be doing transmission things as far as moving us forward. I haven't noticed a shift yet, although I've never driven one of these FMX transmissions, so I don't really know if they're firm or if they're real sloppy. If you can really tell. There, I just tried to hit the clutch. Definitely don't have one of those. Get turned around here, head back up the driveway. Hey, we actually accelerate. I mean, that was... Let me slow down a little bit. That felt pretty good. There's a shift. We at least hit second gear. I don't know. It seems to be working. I gotta be real careful going in here to the shop because we got it downhill. I'm gonna get this thing pulled in the shop, and we can see if we can dig into these brakes. All right, started on the brakes here. I have the this side pulled off, and it actually looks really nice. The wheel cylinders do not look great, so I'm going to replace those. But the brake lines up there where the hard line connects to the brake line looks pretty bad. So I'm hopeful that we don't have to replace them. I did break them loose here at the master cylinder. Worst case, we take the master cylinder out and spin it to get it to unscrew off the hose, and then we do the same going on with the new ones. On the other side, we don't have any guts, like I said, because we tore it apart. And then I took a look at that wheel cylinder. It is, I don't think it's going to work for us. So I got new ones supposed to be coming. He's checking on a master cylinder. These 67s are like 1 year only kind of deals, so they get fun when you start getting into brake parts. And it's got this little bitty tiny brake booster on it. Like I said, I hope it's good. And there is a replacement. Of course, nobody has one in stock. So hopefully, I'm hoping it's good what we're doing now. I got the brake lines undone, and I'm going to pull the master cylinder off. And the brake pedal is just locked up solid. So I'm hoping it's the master cylinder and not the brake booster. So we're going to pull the master cylinder off and see if the brake pedal starts to move. All right, master's off. See if the brake pedal moves now. All right, brake pedal moves now, so it is our master that's causing the problem. So hopefully we can get a replacement, and we'll see if we get brakes again. All right, got my brake parts in, everything but the master cylinder. He couldn't get the master cylinder, unfortunately, which I've kind of known in the past that he's had trouble with that. His suppliers basically kind of quit carrying the stuff for these old trucks. And he sent me the part number, and I found one on another site and just ordered it online. So it's coming here next week, so I'm going to get the parts installed and be ready for that master cylinder. And I think we're going to go ahead and put wheel cylinders in the back, going off how bad these look. I think we're just going to go ahead and do that while we're waiting. So going to replace those as well and inspect the brakes, because we'll have the drums off on these. And see, we'll go from there. Start throwing the brake parts in. I'm probably going to, while it's up in the air, I'll check the diff fluid and that kind of stuff. Grease the drive shaft and just do a service on this thing. And we'll be prepared to hit the road when this thing's back on the ground. All right. Well, I didn't get very far. Ran into a problem. I think the brake line is plugged up. So that's pretty common that that is a problem. I was just kind of hoping they were good, but I think they're plugged up. And then when I tried to take them off, of course, I rounded off the brake line there and broke it off. So definitely not, I know some of you Rust Belt guys are probably laughing at me thinking I was so optimistic in trying to get these brake lines off without breaking something, but this is not typical for me. So I have the broken line taken off, but thankfully I have some rust-free Oklahoma parts trucks here. So we have a nice, bright, nice brake line. This is what my brake lines are normally look like when I try to work on something. So I'm kind of, I am definitely spoiled. I know that. So we're going to get this brake line on, and I think we're probably going to have the same problem on the other side. So I'm going to get to finding another replacement brake line for the long side. Now on these trucks, it's kind of a pain because the brake line runs behind the steering gear. And I was able to get this one out. Of course, it is a 67 and it has extra parts. It has this like stop deal that other trucks don't have. I had to pull that out for the power steering gear. And basically, I just have it unbolted and I could pry it away from the frame enough to get the brake line from out behind it without having to take it all apart. So trying to save as many steps as I can. But I think I'm going to go ahead and replace this other one because we're going to have the same problem right here on this one, and I'm guessing that brake line is going to be the same. Thankfully, my parts truck did have one good brake line. I've already robbed the other one, so I have one good brake line, and then I also have these that were in my parts storage left over from another truck. They are the same, except this is for a four-wheel drive truck, so it's a little bit longer. I think it'll work. It's just going to have a little bit extra hanging out, so we'll try that out before I go ahead and spend money on a new brake line. They're not too expensive. It's just more the time aspect of waiting on one to get here. We'll see how it fits. If it's got a whole bunch of extra stuff that's going to get in the way, I'll just order a brake line, but gonna work on that for a few and see how I get along. got the fronts all back together. Everything is good to go there. Here's my extra long brake line. I think it's going to be just fine. I don't think the tire is going to get into it any here. It's just going to poke up here a little higher than the other side. So that's going to work out. See, here's this side for comparison. And then I got the back. I got the wheel cylinders in the back. You can see those right there. And if you see nice new shiny brake lines, it's because I had the same problem back here. I twisted off the brake lines trying to get them off the wheel cylinders. So I had to bend up some new brake lines there for the rear. And on the reassembly here, I noticed the locking ring thing has the tab broke off that lines up with this hole, this spline keyway in the spindle. And this is supposed to have a tab on it that locks into that, and this won't spin and keeps your wheel nuts from backing off. And the tab is sheared off, so I have a new one of those coming. So I'm waiting for that to get here before I reassemble all this. Don't want those wheel nuts backing off on this thing. And since this truck has been treating me so nice, and we haven't really had to spend a ton of money on the thing, I went ahead and ordered some new tires. These, I was going to leave them just to drive on these out here. I'm not going to go down the interstate with them. But really, you get to looking at them where they set. They're just pretty darn checkered up. And I'd sure hate to lose a tire and bend up a fender or something. So went ahead and ordered tires. It was pretty pricey because me being me, I want to keep the original look and how this thing looks, because I really like the look of the old school bias tires with the tractions in the back and highways up front. I wanted to keep that, so I went with that theme and got some 8 3/4 16.5 tractions in the back and highway treads up front. It's going to be a little bit taller than these because I couldn't get traction tires in 8.0 16.5, and those tires are kind of terribly tiny looking, so they're only like 27 or 28 inches tall. The 8 3/4 are going to be about 30 inches tall, so just a little bit taller, but they'll still have that look. Those will get in, I don't know when, I just ordered them today. And since I'm doing new tires, I might as well refinish the wheels. And if I'm refinishing the wheels, I might as well refinish the hubcaps. So I'm kind of getting into a snowball. I'm trying to keep myself limited. I'm letting myself splurge a little bit because we got the engine going so cheap. So I'm gonna refinish the wheels and refinish the hubcaps and some new tires. And this thing will look really good sitting on that stuff. So I'm gonna wait for all that to get in, and the master cylinder, I just don't have that yet. So we'll get that in and bleed the brakes, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, well, we have the new master cylinder on. I have the brakes bled and all put back together and the wheels and tires back on it. I don't have the new ones just yet, but I have the old ones back on here. We're gonna see if we have any brakes. I haven't tried it yet. We're gonna get it off the lift and see how it goes. Before we go, I want to thank everyone that has bought merch in the past for my merch store. It's been a big help for the channel. That is the biggest way you can support the channel, is going to my merch store. There'll be a link in the description below. We got hats, we got shirts with some of the favorite trucks on the channel. We have one for my Ultimate Highboy and my all-time favorite, the Ranch truck. So go check those out in the merch store. We also got stickers and some other few odds and ends things for you guys to check out. Thank you everyone for the support and continued support in the future. I think we're a little late to get those out for Christmas, but if you ordered some for a Christmas gift, thank you. And maybe a New Year's gift for you guys to treat off the new year with some Kubik Motorsports merch. So let's get this 67 back on the road for real this time with some brakes. Let's see if it gets off the lift and has some stopping power. All right, moment of truth. We have some brake pedal. That's good. Thing fires right up great. All right. I should have started in neutral instead of I'll go with past reverse. There's neutral and drive. Hey, we're not moving. And dare I say, they fell assisted. I haven't tested the brake booster. I can hear the noise whenever you push on the brake, the air noise that a vacuum booster makes. So I think the booster might be working right now. We got good brakes. Let's go take this thing for a drive. All right, here we are. The first real test drive with the truck. I don't know if that was second or third, but I just felt a good shift there. We're going 30, that might have been second. See if we can feel a third shift. Another reason why I wanted to get new tires is the tires that are on this are pretty wore out, and it's wanting to fight any little rut and groove in the road. So you have to fight that a little bit. Let's test our brakes out. Oh yeah, we got good brakes. Might be a little nervous about hopping in this thing for a road trip, since I like literally replaced nothing with new parts besides the master cylinder and some wheel cylinders, and I guess the brake liners in the front are new, but engine wise we didn't put any new parts in it. New to the truck, I guess. Kind of worried about the fuel pump eventually giving out. If that diaphragm was old and crusty, you know, once it starts working, it might eventually fail and leave us stranded somewhere. And on a power steering truck, it's not the easiest to get to. I can't believe the booster's working that great. That makes me really happy. Because I absolutely could not find a replacement. We probably would have had to have changed the pedal assembly to a 68 and up pedal assembly and put a 68 and up booster on it if we wanted to keep boosted brakes, or just run them with the failed booster. This thing runs pretty good. I didn't replace the shocks. They look all rusty and crusty, but they seem to be doing good. I don't feel like any of them are blown out or anything. They just don't look good. Open this thing up a little bit. 45. 50. I think we lucked out on the transmission. So far, we haven't got it real up to temperature yet, but I put it earlier in the video. I didn't notice it when we were on our first test drive, but the fuel gauge did start working. So that's a plus. We don't have to fiddle with that anymore. That's working. The alternator gauge is not working, but that's pretty much every one of these trucks. I think I've only had a handful that have ever worked. Maybe even less than a handful. A few. Unless something's really low use. Usually that amp gauge or alternator gauge does not work. Power steering works really nice on this thing. I did have to add a little bit to it, but just a tiny bit. Wonder if we can spin out. We're on gravel. Take our choke off. Yep, we can spin out. This thing runs pretty good. You can feel the shifts, they're nice. I mean, they're not firm like chirping the tires, but you can actually feel them. The C6 trucks, the bone stock C6 trucks I've had, usually that's kind of, you kind of really have to pay attention to feel the shift. Boy, those brakes grab. They got to get the drums shined up. We didn't turn them or anything. I think they're pretty bitey because they got the little bit of surface rust on them from not being used. But they work good. That's good. All right, guys, well, that's another one back on the road. This one was pretty easy. It didn't fight me very hard. It wanted to get back on the road, it seemed like. So we got away with this thing without spending too much money, and this thing is a great driver. You know, it's got some issues here and there, like I said, but I'm not going to beat it up too bad because it's such a cool truck. With the camper shell, we have all the records. We have the invoice when he bought it from new, and the camper's packed full of camping supplies. My little boy just loves this thing, and he calls it the boys camper. I got a Lance truck camper that we take on vacation with it. He calls that one the girls camper, and he's going to call this one the boys camper. So me and him might, when the spring comes around, it warms up, we might take this one for a little camping trip and see what we get into. Try to use as much stuff out of the back as we can. That might be fun. But for now, we're waiting on those tires to get in, and I'm gonna see about refurbishing the wheels. I haven't really made up my mind yet, but we for sure have new tires coming, so I can get this thing on the highway. And I'm just gonna drive it around and have fun with it for a while. So anyway, guys, thanks for being with me on this one. I know it's kind of a long one, but I really enjoyed fixing this old truck up. 67s are my favorite. Give me a thumbs up if you like this truck. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.